Okay, this is an attempted review at the Title Pro Mex 3.0 Velcro, also known as hook and loop, gloves, boxing gloves. Now, I've gotten back into the sport after a long time. I used to box and Thai box and Muay Thai fairly regularly a long time ago, and I got rid of all my kit. And I recently got back into both sports and needed to start building up my collection again. So I spent a long time searching for gloves and other things, which I'll probably review a bit later. And this was an option I arrived at. I only really found one video review of these with C Squared Boxing. It's got a really good channel. I found another review that I think was in Russian of the 3.0s, and I found other older reviews of other older Title Pro Mex gloves. So I just want to talk about what my first impressions of these are like, some initial pros and cons, why I went for these gloves, and why you might also want to go for these gloves. Now, gloves aren't what they used to be, certainly not in price. When I was into the sport regularly 10 years ago, gloves were a whole lot cheaper, and I was really shocked at how much they'd all gone up. I had a good quality pair of Sandy gloves, so that's a Muay Thai brand. For probably I bought a 10-ounce pair, really good quality, for about 50 quid. 10 years ago. Now that same pair is probably £100 now, and it's really hard. It was really hard for me to find a good basic all-round training glove for around 50 quid these days. You're looking at about £100. It's not a small amount of money, especially when, if you're getting back into the sport, you might find that you need a pair of bag gloves and a pair of sparring gloves. I wanted an all-round pair of gloves that I could use for both. It was looking like I needed to spend around about 100-ish pounds to get a good glove. If you go lower than that, you go much lower than that, you're looking at sort of synthetic gloves, and they can last. And I'll show you a pair of older synthetic gloves I have, which did do the job for a while, but there are some apps, they do start falling apart. And I'll show you where and how they start falling apart. But here's what I've got, okay? These are 16 ounce. And first thing I want to say is, if you're looking at an all-round pair of gloves, I would recommend going for a 16 ounce. Why? Because, well, that's if you're an adult and you're of some height and some weight, because 16s you can spar in. Even if you're only going to do light sparring, or you're not sure you're going to do sparring but you want to try it out, 16s is really what you want to train in. So that's the first thing. Now, unfortunately, just because it says 16 on the label, and these do say 16 on the label, I will show you. So they both say 16. That doesn't mean they're 16. Doesn't mean you're getting 16 ounces of actual glove, unfortunately. And the more you spend, that also won't guarantee you weight. Now I'm going to show you on a pair of scales how much these actually weigh. Bear in mind, they're both meant to be 16 ounces. So let's get a set of scales. So this would be you see this? Yeah, you can see that. Okay, so this would be the left glove. I'll just zero that. Okay, now the left glove is 15.1 ounces. It's just under 16. You see, if I bought a 16 ounce glove, because they go up in 2 ounce increments, if it's noticeably over 14 ounces, which this is, I would be happy with that. Okay, me personally. However, so that's the left glove. Now let's look at the right glove. The right glove is 14.3. So basically my right glove is essentially a 14 ounce glove, and my left glove is close to a 16 ounce glove, but neither of them are 16 ounces. Now I want to show you a pair of synthetic cheap, these are from 10 years ago, so they're old. And This is a pair of 14-ounce Blitz gloves. Blitz is a very, very entry-level brand. Bought these 10 years ago when I needed to pick up a cheap pair. I ruined a pair of sparring gloves I had back in the day. Needed another replacement pair, so I picked these up. 14. Yeah, probably should have gone for something a bit heavier, but this is synthetic. It does start falling apart, and on this hand it really started falling apart, and unfortunately the foam got a bit moldy, so that's really bad, but I've replaced these now. This glove, £30, probably like 50 these days, maybe 40. It says 14 on the label. So yeah, almost 14, 13.7, but the other glove, yeah, 13.8. So they're almost exactly the same, which is one thing I expect from a pair of gloves to be matching in weight. So this cheap pair of gloves is pretty much matching in weight and close to the advertised weight. This more expensive leather, better quality supposedly glove, doesn't match its weight, and the two hands are different. I have some theories around where the difference in padding is. I think it's important for a sparring glove that the knuckle the knuckle area is padded appropriately, because you want a good amount of padding. Protect your hands, also protect your partner's face if you're going for the face. I think where there is padding on the wrist here as well, and here too, and you can tell there's kind of like dints here. It's not like a solid block of padding, which it does look like it is on some other videos. So when I originally saw this glove on C Squared Boxing's channel, I don't know if it was just the light or the color of the glove. I think he was reviewing a blue version. It was a lace-up. He had almost seemed to be a thicker amount of padding. I think he felt it was like a 1/4 of an inch. So there might be a 1/4 of an inch on that side. I don't think it is all the way on this side. As you get higher up here, it doesn't seem like it's a 1/4 of an inch. I don't know. I feel like they've said where there is padding missing, and I feel like there is padding missing, obviously on here from the weights you can tell. I feel like it's on the inside of the glove, so you don't have as much wrist protection. So if you're catching shots, catching kicks, there's not as much protection. But I feel like it's luck of the draw. I feel like if you got another pair of gloves, the weights, if you got another pair of 16s, you might actually get 16 ounces. On C Squared Boxing's review, I think they were bang on 16 ounces both gloves. So that's just the first thing I want to say. It's a bit unfortunate, but interestingly, that hasn't made me return these gloves. Why? Because I felt like where I needed the padding, I feel like I've got it. Maybe I'm just imagining that, I don't know, but I do feel like that's the case. Because I just feel like it's kind of skimping in the wrist a little bit, right? It's this see, padding here is thicker than on the other glove, in the same area. So if you look at that padding there and that padding there, that padding there, that padding there, it's not, they're not uniform. I think that's where the weight differences come in. Okay, so that's weight difference, and like I say, just because you spend more money doesn't mean you're going to get a glove that is matching the advertised weight. I know Reyes brand, the Reyes brand of gloves is kind of notorious for mismatching weights, or at least has been in the past, is what I understand. I think they may have corrected that problem now from what I hear. Okay, let's talk about the quality of this glove, and just the general build of it. So let's pick a glove. Let's pick this one, because there are some things that I want to show you on this glove. In fact, let's just look at something very cosmetic. It won't make a difference to your performance, but it's very cosmetic. These are, by the way, manufactured in Pakistan. It says Mexico. That's just, that's not to do with the glove's origin. It says quite clearly they're made in Pakistan. A lot of gloves are made in Pakistan. I feel like Pakistan, Thailand and Mexico are like the 3 big countries for manufacturing gloves, and a lot of, companies will outsource their manufacturing to Pakistan. Those that are made in Thailand are basically Muay Thai gloves. And, you know, Mexico obviously has a big history and culture around boxing, and you get, you know, some good gloves out there. But, you know, they're more expensive. Okay, so quality, cosmetic. I wonder if you can see, but this Pro Mex logo and this Pro Mex logo, I'll put them like that, are not symmetrical. That is definitely wonky. It's kind of slanted to the side, right? It's on an angle, even though this is straight. That's on an angle. That's less on an angle. That is further out to the left. Like from this edge, the gap between this and this, basically the logos haven't been applied evenly. I was a bit disappointed. This logo doesn't have any holes in it. That has a hole like in the paint essentially, or in the sticker. It's totally cosmetic. It doesn't perforate the glove at all, doesn't perforate the leather. It was just a bit annoying. Still, that didn't make me return this glove. So, you know, it might make you return it. It didn't make me return it. The fabric, this is just minor. This is a fabric patch on here. It's not entirely neatly cut out. You know, it's a bit frayed. Okay, again, cosmetic. I could cut that off. The stitching, let's have a look at the stitching. There's a few sort of frayed threads. Like, I guess the threads could have been finished a bit better. I feel like someone's gone along with a sewing machine and not exactly done this evenly. That's just uneven sewing by someone. That should be pretty even. You know, I don't think these are hand done. Whereas you look on the other glove, you know, it's done pretty evenly. That's not done evenly. On the inside of the glove, yeah, it's, you know, it's okay. It's good. There's not really anything wrong with the stitching. The stitching's pretty good around here. There is still a good amount of wrist support here. You got the word professional in there. That's just you know, that's the model name, the 3.0 professional. It's got ventilation on your thumb, the palm there, just a small attachment there for the thumb, and similarly, you know, on the other glove. In fact, just one thing to note. Okay, so on this glove, you can see like the leather around the thumb is fairly evenly applied. On this one, it's kind of just peeling back a little bit. It's still stitched in just fine. It's, you know, the stitching goes all the way in. This leather is not separating from the glove. It's curled back on itself a little bit. If you're really someone who's like a stickler for quality in terms of cosmetic quality, you know, yeah, you might be disappointed in some aspects of this glove, namely the logo placement, the hole in the applied logo there. You might be disappointed in some of the stitching. You might be disappointed in some of the leather peeling back. All very cosmetic things. I think, you know, those things didn't bother me. The leather here was a bit, you know, it does have a little bit of a scar in it. Again, that's not really that's not going through the glove. It's just a little bit of a scar on the grain. You know, other than that, the leather is pretty good. It's really soft, really supple. I don't think these really need much, if any, of a break-in. Very, very small break-in. Now, those are the negatives of the glove. I've basically started with there. So, you know, you might think, God, I've spent £100 on a pair of gloves. It's not a small amount of money. Why am I keeping these gloves? Well, one, the economy isn't what it used to be. This would have been 50 quid back in the day. We're living in a new normal. You're looking at about £100. If you're in the UK, you know, standard retail price on Amazon or things like Geezer's Boxing or BoxFit, which I think are the three places that in the UK you can get these. You might be able to get them other places as well. Advertised retail price is £99.99. I got these with a 10% discount code, at Geezer's, they were having a summer sale. So I paid £90 for these, right? So you got to think, what are you going to get for 90-ish pounds out there? You go much lower, you start getting into vinyl gloves. And the problem with vinyl gloves is after a little bit, they start doing this. The vinyl comes off, right? I'm hoping that doesn't happen with these. You can get brilliant vinyl gloves like, well, I haven't reviewed these yet. These are a pair of Rival RB50 bag gloves. These are not leather, but I am told and I'm led to believe that these are pretty brilliant. So I will do a review of these in due course. But I didn't want to really go into vinyl. So that's, you know, when you're looking at a leather all-round training glove that will hopefully last a while. I don't expect this to last forever, but, you know, to last a while, I think you're looking at spending 100-ish pounds. You start to go over, then you're looking at brands like Fairtex, Sandy, the Thai gloves. Those gloves are brilliant. For me, I've had Thai gloves before, and the mold wasn't comfortable for my hand. The punching position, the fist position wasn't comfortable for my hand, so I wanted a pair of Western boxing gloves. So this is basically what I think from my research. I could be wrong. Drop your thoughts in the comments if you have better ideas, but I think these are probably the best value leather Western style boxing gloves you're going to get these days, like all-round training glove. So that was one reason I kept them, because I didn't think I'd get much better for the money, and I felt if I returned them and got another pair, it would just be luck of the draw again in terms of weight and logo placement. Logo placement I'm not bothered about. Right. So that's one reason. The other reason I kept them is because when I actually tried them, I wanted a glove that was, again, all round, okay? And I felt that I can use these for bag work, pad work, partner drills, and light sparring, right? I don't really spar heavy these days. I don't really want to spar heavy at all anymore. But I think these are okay. They've been recommended by other people who probably spar a lot more than I do. And I think if you're going to be doing, you know, casual training, but you want an all-round glove, yeah, no, this is okay. So I tried these on at a session, at a recent training session, and I have to say, they were incredibly comfortable, very comfortable. Like, just putting them on, your hand does feel like, you know, they're in a pillow. There's plenty of room in the thumb. My hand's not wrapped here. By the way, I would recommend wrapping your hands, even if you don't like to, because what I found is in a hot training session, you will sweat through these gloves. And it's kind of like this fabric in here. It is kind of a cloth fabric. I feel like this will absorb sweat pretty easily. So I also recommend getting a pair of glove deodorizers, like No Stink or something. I might do a review of those, but yeah, I think that would be a good investment to have alongside these gloves. This fabric, it's really nice and comfortable, but I feel like it will soak up sweat. So at least if you have wraps, I don't always train with wraps, but I will now with these gloves because I think they will just help them last longer. So there's a good amount of room in this glove, good amount of room in the thumb. Can really wiggle it around there. I like the fist position. It honestly does feel like my hand is very well protected, and I felt a lot more confident. So when I did spar in these gloves, I felt a lot more confident in this glove, some strange reason, than I have in other gloves. You got a good amount of wrist support. You don't have much padding here, but I think yeah, you've probably got, it's not great if you're catching shots. I think, you know, there are other gloves. I think the BGV9 Fairtex has probably more padding there. That was the other alternative I was looking at here. It's a similar price. It's probably about, you can get them 10, 20 pounds more than this. It's also a Mexican style glove. But what I'm led to believe on the BGV9 is that the foam is not, it's a lot harder. and then it's not great for sparring. So that's why I chose this. I figured I'd kill more birds with this style. So yeah, really good, comfortable position. And I think that's why I kept it. I think I realized that these days, for the money, this is gonna be probably the best all-round training boxing glove that I could hit bags, pads, spar in. It would fulfill most of my needs. I feel like it won't fall apart quickly. I feel like I'll get some good use out of it. I'll probably do a long-term review out of this. I've literally just got these on one training session in them. But that's my initial impression. If you know, there are a couple of other videos that talk about the foam in here, that, you know, people think there's some sort of latex memory foam in here. There might be. Yeah, my fingers are in a good position, they don't feel uncomfortable. Yeah, so I think definitely consider this glove. Yes, there are some drawbacks with it. I think if you want a leather glove, you're not going to get much cheaper than this. If you want a glove to last a while, you know, you could, if you're just getting into the sport, there's nothing wrong with picking up, you know, a pair of, you know, £50 cheaper gloves than this, just to see if you stick with the sport. You know, I'm just getting back into it after a long time off and just wanted to, you know, get some new gloves again. So I didn't really want to break the bank. And I feel like these allow you to get back in without breaking the bank, and still give you a decent, you know, gives you a good fist position, a good amount of protection. Yeah. Any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll try and do a follow-up review of these in a few months' time and just see how they hold up. Okay, thanks.